Hey guys, Griff Hanning with HOMEfix. In a previous video I showed you how to remove door casing from the door without damaging it or the walls around it. But now it's time to put the casing back on. And we're going to upgrade to a modern farmhouse style. So check it out. So this is what we want it to look like when we're done. It's a modern farmhouse style with a larger header. It's a lot thicker and wider than the casing itself. And the casing just butts up right into it with a little bit of an overlap on the side there. I've chosen to go with a 3/8 inch overlap for our header. You could go up to a 1/2 inch if you wanted to. I don't recommend going more than a 1/2 inch. So the header at the top of the door is 5.5 inches wide by 11/16 inches thick. The casing is 3¼ inches wide by a 1/2 inch thick. That way it butts right up into it and doesn't overlap. And then our baseboard is a 5-inch baseboard, and it's a little less than a 1/2 inch thick, and that way it'll butt up into the casing and not overlap that. When casing most doors, especially if you're using a miter, at the top, then you'll want to start with the header. Measure the header, cut that first, install it, and then do the casing on either side. I've actually found that in this case, rather than using math to try and figure out what that header should be, the length of it, is to install the casing on the side first and then put the header on top. So that's what we're going to do. The first thing you want to do is measure out a 1/4 inch reveal. So we want a 1/4 inch from our edge to where our casing is going to be. So just measure a 1/4 inch at a few different spots, and that way you can make sure you're being consistent. You can guess and just eyeball it if you want. I like to measure just to make sure, at least in a couple spots. The most important mark you're going to make on the door is the one that tells the casing where to stop. That way the casing is even on both sides and the header looks level. So I like to get up on a ladder and get eye level with it so I can make an accurate spot on both sides. And again, do a 1/4 inch reveal at the top as well as the sides. So now we're going to measure our casing. I'm going to take my tape measure and put it as low as I can in the carpet there, in that crevice. I always want to cut a little bit longer than I need. That way I've got a little flex room with the carpet, and I can recut it if I need to. So then up at the top, what do we got here? Looks like 81 5/8. And don't assume that both sides are the same size. These are actually both 1/8 of an inch different. This one's about 81.5. So measure both separately. All right, casing's cut. Now it's time to go install it. But before we do, a little side note, if your garage looks like this disaster, terribly unorganized, very unclean, complete train wreck, I'm embarrassed for you, and I'm embarrassed for the people who live here.
Hey babe, do you need any help cleaning up the garage so that I can get my car in before it rains?
Yeah, sure, sounds like a plan, sweetheart.
Thanks.
Back to the project. We're going to install the casing on either side. What you want to do is make sure you insert it right next to the carpet and push down on it a little bit. Make sure there's no space there or a gap next to the carpet. And then we're going to put this exactly where it needs to be. And I'm just going to tack it. I'm literally just going to do one nail and let that stay for a while until we do the header and make sure it all looks good. The other one. Perfect. So now I want to figure out what length of header that we want at the top. I'm just going to take outside to outside, and looks like we're at 36 and about 7/8. And we know that we want to add 3/4 inch to that amount because we want 3/8 on each side. 3/8 times 2 is 3/4. So again, measure twice. 36 and 7/8. I'm going to add 3/4 to that, so then we're going to be at 37 and 5/8 is what we want that header to be. So let's put our header at the top here. There's no need to measure it. We're just going to eyeball it. Make sure it looks even on both sides. Looks like about 3/8 there. We'll come back over. And that looks even. I'm going to go ahead and hit it right in the middle first. Step back, make sure that looks okay. Everything looks great to me. Awesome. Then I'm gonna hit it once here. And then we wanna get a couple, you wanna minimize the number of nails that you put into the casing, right? Because that's just more nails to fill before you paint. But we wanna make sure it's secure so it doesn't move at all. I know that there's a stud that comes down right to the side here. So my goal is to try and hit that stud. I did not hit it. Let's go right here. That felt solid. There we go. Perfect. More nails than I wanted, but that'll work. And now we're gonna go down the side to get the rest of our casing. Again, hit it against the jamb first, get that reveal looking nice and even all the way down to the bottom. And on this side here as well. Just line it up with my marks. All right, here's our door. Came out beautifully. I was talking about nail patterns. So I've gone, about every 12 to 16 inches down the face of the jamb there. And then I usually alternate. So in between the two jamb nail holes, I'll put one a little bit further out just to keep the casing from being able to be pulled out. And once we caulk it, that'll be nice and secure. I always like to put one right here at the top here so this part doesn't flap out and end up cracking around where it meets the header. But that's how it looks, and I think we did beautifully. And that's how you install modern farmhouse door casing on a door. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you on the next project.